Good morning. Welcome to United Women in Faith Sunday. Thank you for joining us today on this special day. Each year, the Special Mission Recognition Committee of St. John's selects members of the St. John's community who exemplify our UWF commitment to mission. In honor of each person that will be named today, some at this service, some at the next, we have given a special monetary gift in their name to support the ministries with women, children, and youth in our state, in our nation, and around the world. As a tangible evidence of this special mission recognition, a gift to mission, each honoree will receive a pin from the United Women in Faith. Our first honoree for the day has been a vital part of St. John's community for decades. As a wife, as a mother of three, a full-time professional working woman, yet she's always found time to serve in leadership roles right here at the church. As her children grew up in the church, she worked tirelessly with youth activities. Now, most recently, you may know her as the woman who was the chair of the Kitchen Renovation Committee. She worked with the architect, the contractors, the church staff, the finance committee, the plumbers, and the electricians, just to name a few. Now, she has given us updates on the fundraising campaign as we worked hard to fill the pot, and continued to keep us informed throughout the entire construction process. Thanks to her leadership, we now have a bright, new kitchen that will meet our needs for years to come. And just this week, the trustees confirmed their respect for her by electing her as chair of trustees for 2023. Now, she's obviously very intelligent and talented, but she also has a heart for mission. She participated in many mission trips in years past with the Appalachian Service Project with the youth, and most recently volunteers in mission to Cuba. On the Sunday that she gave us a ministry moment on that mission to Cuba, we all felt her passion and her dedication to return to serve the people of Cuba. For her dedication to service and mission in the name of Christ, United Women in Faith recognizes Susan Lambert. Susan, please come back.
Good morning. Would you please join me in reciting in unison the UWF purpose? To be a community of women whose purpose is to know God and to experience freedom to whole persons through Jesus Christ, to develop a creative, supportive, and to expand concepts of mission through participation in the global ministries of the church.
Thank you, Joyce. I'm here to tell you a few of the highlights that the United Methodist Women, or United Women in Faith now, have been doing over the 2022 year. This has been a year of transitioning from the organization of the United Methodist Women to United Women in Faith. And as Pat Cobb always has helped us through the time of change, she has explained that the name has changed multiple times in our 150 plus years of existence, but God is the same regardless of our name. And so is the need of children, youth, and women throughout the United States and the world. As you can see printed on the last page of the worship bulletin here at St. John's, we have two active circles, the Ruth Circle and the Mary Martha Circle. Last January, we organized an annual UWF Sunday worship, as we are doing here today. We have sent a delegate to the Quadrennial International Assembly in Florida last spring, and to our Louisiana Mission U at the Conference Center in Alexandria last summer. In addition to our monthly meetings, which are centered around scripture, discussion, and learning, we have had two general meetings that allowed us to learn more about silence and prayer from our own talented Vice President, Joyce, and the new direction of the UWF from our District President, Grace Olton. UWF is truly a mission-driven organization providing for children, youth, and women internationally in the United States, in Louisiana, and locally. Under the leadership of Joyce Perry and the efforts of many women, we have had 2 sessions for Days for Girls workshops in which we made more than 200 hygiene kits for young women in third world countries, allowing them to go to school or work every day of the month. Our very successful craft bake sales, which you, the St. John's congregation, supported through your donations and purchases, earned enough money that allowed us to send additional funds, $800 each, to the Louisiana UWF mission projects in Dulac Community Center, North Rampart Community Center in New Orleans, and McDonald Children's Services in Houma. There are approximately 100 UWF mission projects in the United States, and we are fortunate to have 3 here in Louisiana, which provide services for children, youth, and women. And we have engaged in local mission projects also by providing Bibles to the children of the church, helped sponsor youth activities, sponsored our first annual Elf Night last December for children of the church and their parents so they could go shopping without their kids or just have a night at home by themselves, and started visiting UWF members who are homebound. At the state annual meeting in Shreveport, our unit was recognized by 2 members receiving reading program certificates, Diane Rourke and Norma Thomason. And our unit received the 5-star giving certificate for 100% participation in all 5 channels of mission giving. Whew. Well, yes, your United Women in Faith have been busy this past year, but we are not stopping here. We have another year filled with mission projects, experiencing Christ through Scripture, and sharing experiences with other Christian women. We encourage all women of the church to consider joining us in 2023 to make an even bigger impact by being Christ's hands and feet in the world. All right. Now I believe you are on.
It's a pleasure to introduce our speaker for this morning. Our speaker is a native of Shreveport, Louisiana, and she attended the public schools in that parish. She was the valedictorian of her class in graduating. She went on to graduate from Louisiana Tech University in marketing. She began her career in insurance and financial services, which did very well for her, but later she entered into selling real estate starting in 2001. She is the mother of 2 boys and a girl that produced her 6 beautiful grandchildren. They all live here in the Baton Rouge area. In later years, she remarried a wonderful gentleman that is with us this morning, Mr. Keith Jones. That expanded the grandchildren pool to 15, and they are delighted to enjoy as frequently as possible just to have conversation, games, and just have fun with the grandchildren. I think the children kind of was put to the side. Our speaker grew up as a Catholic, and she was very giving, active at that time in her attendance, as well as being a part of the Catholic Church. Later, she was going through a turbulent time period in her life. She turned with help of her family and friends in trying to restructure herself. So she found herself attending First United Methodist Church of Baton Rouge. The atmosphere was so refreshing and welcoming that it made her eagerly, immediately to join and get involved at First Church. She has served as Sunday School President, Church Council, Staff Parish Relations Committee, Mission Outreach Committee, and just ended her presidency as the president of the unit at First Church for United Women in Faith. This is just a few of the many things that keep her busy as a disciple of Christ. She loves to be helpful, she serves wherever she can, and she's always ready to meet you with a big smile and plenty of hugs. So if you're willing to be hugged and get a smile, all you have to do is turn to our speaker today, which it is a pleasure for me to introduce to you Mrs. Sandra Pradas Jones.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate my husband being here with us. He said, I had told him, oh, you know, it's on Highland Road, and so he actually went to a Baptist church by mistake because I didn't bring my phone with me. He tried to call me. Long story short, he said, what's the nearest Methodist church? And here he is. So all is good. And thank you, Joyce, for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you, too. Let me just take a moment. I want to reread a part of Colossians, this chapter 3, and I want to reread verses 12 through 15. Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly beloved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other and forgive whatever grievances you have against another. Forgive as the Lord forgave you. And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them together in perfect unity. Now, I think January is always a good time for us to reflect on this sound advice that Paul gave to the Colossians. At that time, the Colossians believed in Jesus. They thought his teachings were very important. But some of them also believed strongly in other prophets, such as Moses, Buddha, and Muhammad. And so they just thought those were as equally important to what Jesus had to say. In other words, Jesus was not the center of their lives. while he was important to them, but he was not the center. So they were kind of going back to the olden days of hedging their bets and having multiple gods, I think. But Paul was completely confident that he could change their minds. He set them straight, reminding them that Jesus was the one, the Messiah, around whom they should center their lives. He patiently and gently reminded them that Jesus is the only one to show them how to live on earth, and also to provide them with all the answers they needed to live an everlasting life with his Father in heaven. This particular reading really speaks to me, probably because I like to go shopping. But I especially love Paul's visual reference of clothing yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. You know, the order of these virtues has importance. First, put on compassion, then kindness, and so on. I also love the reference that he gives us with that last finishing touch. Over all these virtues, put on love. You could say that love is the overcoat that pulls the spiritual outfit together. So as we start a new year with this reading in mind, we have a perfect opportunity to start with a clean slate and to make a fresh start towards a more meaningful life. It all begins with that first virtue that Paul mentioned, compassion. The word compassion literally means to suffer with, and is defined as a caring response to someone else's distress and an urgent need to help. Let me say that again. Compassion is a caring response to someone else's distress and an urgent desire to help. As we look at our world today and those around us, we see a lot of people in crisis, don't we? They're experiencing death, divorce, family issues, financial issues, maybe devastating illness, loss of a job or need of a job, and a lot more. Some are homeless, some are fighting addictions, and others are imprisoned. These are all people who desperately need our help. Many have never been taught basic life skills. They really don't know how to weather the hard times of life and how to face the consequences of their bad decisions. Often, they just lack respect for themselves and for others. They have burned their bridges of connection with their families and their friends and relatives, and they have no one else to turn to, no one that they can depend on, and no one who cares anything about them in the very worst of times. They need emotional, spiritual, physical, or sometimes financial help. Like rudderless ships, they bounce along the waves, often crashing into each other, and all too often they sink. They desperately need for someone just to care. They need compassion. So as Christians, we're reminded throughout the New Testament to show compassion towards others. Jesus frequently modeled compassion. A story that comes to mind for me is the woman at the well in John chapter 4. Here is a woman who is the victim of ethnic prejudice. She's been shunned by her community. To go to draw water from the well, she waits until noon, the hottest time of the day, when nobody else is going to go. Except, guess who shows up? Jesus. Jesus breaks all the rules when it comes to visiting her. First of all, he talks to her. She's a woman. Second, he talks to her. She's a Samaritan woman. And thirdly, he asks her to draw water for him in her cup, which would make him unclean. Jesus shows her compassion and even offers her living water, the spiritual gift from his Father that would take care of her thirst forever. You know, Jesus always showed kindness towards others. He saw them from his Father's perspective throughout his life, all the way to the cross, where he asked, "Lord, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." He did hold people accountable, however, and he knew that they had consequences for their bad actions. But he always offered them a way out, a better way to clothe themselves, to love of God, love of self, and love of others. That's what our pastor Brady Whitten calls God cubed. Compassion requires commitment to produce results. Commitment means an agreement or pledge to do something in the future. Let me say that one more time. Commitment means an agreement or pledge to do something in the future. Commitment means being steadfast and present and dependable, even in the most difficult circumstances. The best example of commitment that I can share with you happened just recently when my brother-in-law, Dwayne, and my sister Sally came by to visit and spend a few nights with us from out of state. Now, Dwayne, through their church, has volunteered. He volunteered last fall to mentor a teenager at a home for troubled boys. While Dwayne has been involved in various activities through their church throughout the years, covenant groups, Bible studies, and so forth, this type of mentoring is a totally new experience for him. He is tall, very tall, nice-looking, soft-spoken, and kind. In other words, he's just a great brother-in-law. He retired after leading several large corporations over the years, and now he mentors corporate leaders part-time. But then, on the other hand, we have Carson. I'm going to call him Carson. That's our new dog's name, by the way. He lies. He disrespects others. He gets into fights, sometimes more than one fight a day. He uses awful language. He is a bully, a real bully. Now, Dwayne, every Wednesday evening since September, shows up faithfully to meet with Carson. Dwayne is trying to show Carson that he is important and his life matters. There are people who care about him and can be counted on. Dwayne mirrors the very qualities that this boy so desperately needs. We'd all agree that Dwayne is compassionately committed to helping Carson find a better way to live. Here at St. John's, as Beth has shared, you have a wonderful organization of women that exhibits compassionate commitment called United Women in Faith, or UWF. I understand you have about 40 members, and she's already shared with you some of what I was going to share, which is when they meet in the circles and so forth. And it's also in your bulletin. What impressed me when I was talking with Joyce was she shared a couple of the organizations that these ladies support. The McDonald Children's Services Home in Houma, which cares for 11 to 17-year-olds who are in state custody through no fault of their own due to neglect, abuse, or abandonment. UMCOR Relief Supply Depot in Baldwin, which provides over $4 million in relief supplies annually across the United States. And North Rampart Community Center in New Orleans, which offers after-school care and summer camps in poverty-stricken areas in New Orleans. And then I heard about your group raising funds through bake and craft sales here at the church. I'm sure the bakes I know they're homemade and delicious, and I understand the crafts are created by very talented members of your own congregation. I noticed in the bulletin on April 2nd, I'll certainly stop by because there will be an Easter bake and craft sale. You will be showing compassionate commitment by supporting these ladies. They would love to have you visit one of their meetings and consider joining them. So again, do consider that if you're not already a member. I did that starting in 2008. I joined the First Methodist in 2005, and there was a lady there who was sort of mentored me and welcomed me everywhere, and it's really changed my life since then. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today and consider what your own compassionate commitment will be in the new year. Thank you.